In today's Adobe Illustrator tutorial, you will learn how to use Draw Inside mode and how to professionally draw complicated artwork in a fast and easy way. First, we will see how to use Pen tool to redraw rows from Sketch, how to use Shape Builder tool and Scissors tool to cut lines, and then you will learn how to color your artwork using Divide from Pathfinder. After these steps, we will use Draw Inside mode to add shadows and highlights, which you'll be able to easily manipulate and change. By the end of this tutorial, you will understand how and when to use Draw Inside mode, and also will learn a lot of useful professional tips that will boost your workflow. You're watching TNT Tutorials, let's move on and create a new document. Select Print, A4, Horizontal Orientation, in Advanced Options select RGB, and click on Create. You can download this reference, colors, and sketch by the link in the video description. I also recommend you to download swatches. If you don't want to use swatches, you can use this color palette. I personally prefer to use swatches in this artwork. Let me show you how to upload them. First of all, select all these colors and delete them. Then click here, Add the library, and find path to downloaded swatches. You will see this window. Just click on this folder, and it will appear right here. Let's close this window. If you want these color icons to be as large as you can see here, click on this little menu and select Medium or Large Thumbnail View. Let's create new layer and rename it to Red Outline. Swatches. Let's pick this dark red color. With Fill Color icon selected, click here on None, select Stroke and select this dark red color. P for Pen tool. First I will show you Pen tool basics that we will use over and over to redraw these rows. Click here, drag handles like this, don't drag them like so. Then click here. Remember that we want to use as less amount of points as we can. Just create points like so. Then click here, and now we need sharp corner to draw this shape like this. So hold Alt, drag this handle like so, then click here. As you can see, we have sharp corner here. Then when you're connecting such points, you will have smooth points. We don't need that. We need sharp corner, hold Alt, and connect these points like so. To quickly deselect this path, Ctrl and click somewhere. If you don't like line that you have created, or you want to change something, A for Direct Selection tool, pick this line, select any point that you want to edit, change handles, move them, and change path any way you want. Let's start to create new line from this point. Sometimes you are drawing line and then you decide to zoom in. Let's zoom in, P for Pen tool. You're trying to continue, but you can't. Click on this point with Pen tool and drag handle like so. Let me show you this. Drag it like this. Because if you will simply click on this point, you will build sharp corner. But we need smooth corner here, like this. Right now, sharp corner, we are using Alt. And we're holding Alt to build sharp corner here. If you don't need sharp corner, just connect these points like so. And then if you will decide to make sharp corner, hold Alt and move this handle like so. Then A for Direct Selection tool and change path any way you want. What you should also notice, you can see this sharp edge here. You can select all your lines, Properties, Stroke, Round Cap and Round Join. We can also do this even before we started to draw. Let's just select Round Cap and Round Join. And as you can see, we have rounded corners. Let's continue with this shape. It might seem complicated, but now you will see that it's very easy and fast to redraw sketch with Pen tool. Let's draw this line like this. You simply need to redraw each line. That's all you need to do. Let's just finish here. And this is standard way to redraw sketch from one line to another. But with this method that I will show you today, we will need some overlapping. Just do this like so. Why will we do this? Because we have a big amount of lines today, and we want to redraw them very quick. So we don't need to be very precise. First of all, we simply need to draw smooth lines according to reference. And we don't need to worry about any attachment of any points. I mean this. So we can simply forget about this for now. For now, you will simply redraw this sketch like so. This will boost your speed, and you can concentrate simply on design of your lines. You will redraw sketch like this, with constant overlapping. Next step will be cutting all unnecessary lines, and this step will be very fast also. So now, as I told you, you should concentrate on design of your lines, on their overall look, A for direct selection tool, change flowing of these strokes. Also, you should not worry about amount of points when you're building line. Sometimes I just use pen tool to build line with any kind of amount of points, and then I see that I obviously have unnecessary amount of points, and I simply delete unnecessary points like this. Just use pen tool to click on them, A for direct selection tool, and move handles like this. As you can see, we didn't need point over here. So just build lines with pen tool, don't worry about points, then pick this line with direct selection tool, and find unnecessary points. If you can't recognize unnecessary points, just try to delete some of them and try to apply handles to shape that you need. This is a good practice first, and second that you will get from it is much more smooth and clean lines. Also, with little amount of points, you will have great control on each stroke, and it will allow you to easily change it anytime. Because when you have big amount of points, like so, you've decided to change this line just a bit. So you pick this point, you're moving it like this, and all these points are not allowing you to change shape as you want. But if you will remove them all, you can use handles, move this point like so, and as you can see, you have great control here. So as less points is better. Simply redraw each line that you see here. To stop drawing line, hold Ctrl and click somewhere. Let me show you how fast this way is. Use space for hand tool to navigate, then when you will release it, it will switch to pen tool again. So we are not connecting these lines like so. This is standard using of pen tool, there's nothing wrong with it, but in this case, we are drawing lines like this. Let's continue. Sometimes you can just build lines like this. Then A for direct selection tool, and manipulate handles to match reference. So basically you will use pen tool just to draw line and A for direct selection tool to make any kinds of edits. Then I will delete this point. If you're getting confused on when to delete points or leave them, I can say that it's simply a matter of practice. P for pen tool. A for direct selection tool. I think that I can delete this point. Let's try it out. If you have deleted some point and it didn't work for you, you can press Ctrl Z to undo. Or if you don't want to undo, you can simply add point like this and move it. It might only seem complicated and too long to do, but as you will practice, your speed will grow, so just use these methods and soon you will see that your workflow became very fast. Use holding Ctrl and clicking on workspace to stop drawing line, this is very handy. Also, don't forget to zoom out when you need to, because sometimes when you're zooming out, you just can draw a line much better, like this, and you can see that I have only 2 points for this line. Let's finish it like this, then A for direct selection tool, select this point, and drag handle like so. Sometimes you might want to move points, replace them, like so. I think we can remove this one. P for pen tool. A for direct selection tool. Move handles. If you don't like this curve, A for direct selection tool. Let's move this point here. Drag this handle like so. Play with these handles. And you can see that we have much softer result here. You can also simply draw all lines with pen tool and then use direct selection tool to edit them. After you will draw all these lines. It's up to you to decide which way to choose. I prefer to edit lines right after I draw them. I can delete even this point. You don't need to blindly follow reference. Sometimes you can change lines flowing. Let's build sharp corner here. Hold Alt and move handles, like so. Sometimes after I started to draw a line, I see that I already can draw it better, so I press Ctrl Z to undo. I can simply click here, and because I will need sharp corner here, I can hold Alt, drag this handle like so, drag this handle, then hold Alt again, drag this handle, click here, hold Alt, and apply this shape. And as you can see, we have only 3 points in this line. This is a good example of how you can build line with minimal amount of points. You just can't make less. 3 points is all that you need here. Let's do the same in this one. You can also just build line like this, then A for direct selection tool, pick this point, hold Alt, drag handles. We don't need to hold Alt for this point, we're just moving handle. If you will need to make smooth corner from this one, if you don't need sharp corner, Properties, and select Convert selected anchor points to smooth, like this. Let's continue. So sometimes you're switching between pen tool and direct selection tool, and sometimes you're simply quickly drawing lines with pen tool, like this. Hold Ctrl, click somewhere, and continue to draw. Sometimes you can just draw a few lines and then use direct selection tool, like in this case. Unnecessary points here. We can also delete this one, or not. Let's just add point here. I will add point here. This sketch is a good chance for you to practice, so just take your time and try it. Sometimes you will need to drag lines to overlap them, like so. We need overlapping in all cases, even in this case. Just make sure that you're redrawing all lines. I will use only 3 points here also, like this. This is pen tool, not direct selection tool. Sometimes you just don't need direct selection tool. Hold Ctrl, click somewhere, and build new line. 3 points also. Now I can use direct selection tool to fix this line. Only 3 points here also. As you can see. Sometimes when you see that you will need some kind of corner here, you can build handle here like so. And as you can see, you already have some smooth corner when you're building this line. Just create line like this and finish it somewhere. We already have some corner. You can change it like so. It's just example of one of combinations. I remind you that sometimes you just need to simply move some points. Let's move these handles like so. I see that I can make less amount of points here if I will zoom out. And when you will try to continue with this point to build line, you will simply delete it when you will click on it with pen tool. So just build new point and draw this line like so. Hold Alt, play with handles. As you can see, we're using basically the same methods to build each lines. We're just using a little bit different combinations. And to learn them all, you don't need to even remember anything, you just need more practicing. Just take this sketch and redraw it, using all tips that I have showed you today. And also don't get too crazy with overlapping. When you're building new line, you just need to overlap another line. You don't need to overlap 2 lines or 3 lines, like this for example. 1 line is enough. Let's make sure that we have drawn all lines. For now, let's lock this layer, create new layer, rename it to green outline, swatches, with stroke active. Let's pick this dark green color, P for pen tool, and here we don't need any kind of overlapping. We will just simply redraw this object. Sometimes you're getting this result. That means that you simply need to hold Alt, drag handle like this, and continue drawing. After you've created sharp corner, you can always convert it to smooth corner in properties, right here. Drag this handle like so, hold Alt, A for direct selection tool. We need really thin line here. Let's hold Alt and continue to build lines from this point. Let's connect these points. And now just don't create objects like this. Drag handles like so. And as you can see, this line looks much better. In the same way, let's create another ones. You can just duplicate them, like so. But for you, especially if you're a beginner, it's a good practice, so I do not recommend you to duplicate them. I personally prefer to always redraw such objects and not duplicate them. Sometimes I duplicate such objects, but not very often. Now let's create this line like this. It should be almost the same as this one. Let's continue from this point. Hold Alt, drag handles, to build this leaf, I didn't release Alt because I needed it all the time. Let's deselect this line, create another one here. Talking about these lines, you can quickly create them like so. But I will tell you now that we won't use method from these rows with these leaves. So with leaves, you can use standard method. You can draw them like this. But there's nothing wrong if you will draw them like so. This method has its benefits, because if you will decide to move these lines, you'll pick A for direct selection tool, for example, or V for selection tool. Let's use selection tool. You will move it, and you will need to adjust this line to other lines. And if you are not sure about this artwork, if you will want to experiment with it, you should create such lines. They will allow you to quickly move this object. You will need to adjust anything, just sometimes, like this for example. So it's up to you to decide, just watch what I will do, and then you will be able to choose. I'll press Ctrl Z, and I will draw lines like this. Because I often like to edit my artworks, let's just move this line like this. Now you can duplicate this leaf, like so, if you want to. You can change proportions of it, or you can redraw leaf from sketch. It's up to you to decide. I will match reference with existing lines. I'm just showing you another combination of how you can work, but the most proper decision for these ones, in some cases, when you know that all leaves will be the same, you don't need to copy them and adjust to any angles. You need to create one leaf, create it fully with color, and then duplicate it to avoid the same edits over and over to the same leaf. And this is our case for these two leaves. We won't redraw this one, we will redraw this leaf and then duplicate it here. So now as we are done with green outline, let's lock it, unlock red outline, and now it's time for Shape Builder tool. Let's just select all these outlines. You can also simply click here, then press Shift plus M for Shape Builder to cut all these lines. This is also very quick and easy. Just hold Alt, Ctrl Z if you've picked wrong object, hold Alt, and just quickly click on unnecessary lines, like this. What I should notice here is that before this step, it's better to create new layer, rename it to Backup 1 or 1 Backup, like this, hold Alt, duplicate this layer here, hold Alt and duplicate this layer here. Bring Backup layer down, and in this Backup layer, we will have all these lines unedited as backup. Let's make this layer invisible. And if something will go wrong, you will always be able to pick layer from backup layer group. And you should not just pick it. Just drag it like this, rename it to your usual red outline. You will need to copy it from this layer, like this. That means that you should always have these layers in backup layer. All that you're taking from it are copied. This is very important. That's why you're creating backup layer. Before each serious step, you should make another backup layer. So you would have 2 backup layer, 3 backup layer, and so on. And also, don't forget to save your file. This is very important, because you might waste a few hours on your artwork, and if you will save only 2 times, for example, or 1 time, this won't be enough. If something will go wrong, you won't be able to return. So you should also save your file as file number 1, file number 2, file number 3, and so on. This is professional and proper way of working, because you should respect your time and avoid doing the same things over and over. So we have our backup layers. We can freely work with these ones. We are not afraid if something will go wrong. We can restore it from backup layer. Shift plus M. Hold Alt. Also, don't forget to make backup layer invisible. This is very important. And with holded Alt, just continue to cut these lines. If you're not sure which line to cut, zoom out, just take a look at your lines, then Shift plus M again, and continue. You can zoom in even more, like this. You can simply use Hand tool to navigate, just hold space, then release it. It's very easy to detect unnecessary lines. Just delete them like this. As you can see, it's very fast. Of course, you will be able to change lines after this, but it's better to finish first step when you're simply designing your lines, and then move on with cutting unnecessary lines. Just don't rush, don't be in a hurry, because it's better to look at your artwork precisely, to know that you have fully completed each step, than just to leap from step to step over and over and make mistakes. As I can see, I've deleted all unnecessary lines. Let's just make this layer invisible for now. Let's move on with this leaf. Unlock this layer. In these cases, you should replace these lines like so. Don't touch these points, just use these ones. Now select this leaf, Shift plus M for Shape Builder, and here you can simply hold Alt and just drag Shape Builder like this. You can delete any amount of lines at once. Right now I will apply the same here. Sometimes you can just simply move these lines like so, and then connect them here. This happens when you're not sure when this point is snapping. You should place it like this, and then snap them here. Shift plus M. You can click on these lines, or you can drag through them with holded Alt. Now it's great time to use Scissors tool. It's great time to use Scissors tool because we don't need to delete this line like this from this point to this. If we would need to do this, we will just simply select these lines, Shift plus M for Shape Builder, hold Alt, and we would click on this point. But we don't need this. We want this shape to look more interesting. So let me show you how Scissors tool works. Let's just select this object, C for Scissors tool, and cut when you need to. Now delete these points, then select this object, and cut it like this. This is the result that I wanted to show you. You can also use Scissors tool here to cut lines like so, if you don't want to use Shape Builder. You could do the same with Shape Builder here. This method is even faster with Shape Builder. You can also hold Alt and drag it like so. Select these lines, Shift+M, hold Alt, and drag. But sometimes you want to use Scissors tool when you need to cut line. Here, for example, you will cut it like this, and you'll have this result. Let's make this layer visible again. And now it's time to color our artwork. And before we will do this, we will create another backup layer, create new layer, and rename it to backup. Select these two layers, hold Alt, and bring them to this backup layer. Bring backup layer down, like so, lock it, and make it invisible. After we will expand all these lines, they won't be lines anymore, they will be just an objects, and we won't be able to change stroke width. But we will have our backup layer, we will be able to duplicate it to the top of all these objects and change stroke width. Later I will show you this. Right now let's just make green outline invisible, select red outline layer, object, expand, click OK, properties, unite. We will press unite because right now this is a bunch of different objects and we want them to be one object. Just look here, we will click unite, and now there is no separation. Let's deselect this object. Let's make sketch layer invisible. Swatches. Let's pick this color. M for rectangle tool. Draw rectangle like this. Right click. Arrange. Send to back. Now select all these layers. Properties. Pathfinder. Click here on these dots. And select divide. Deselect all these objects, select them again, right-click, ungroup, select this layer, delete it, and now you have all these objects separated, and you can freely color them. First that we will do is we will select all such objects. You should not pick all of them at once. Swatches, and let's apply this color. You can apply color to each one of them by selecting them one by one. Right now we are ready to use Draw Inside mode. This is extremely fast and easy to do. Let's just pick this layer for example. And you can see this icon here, Drawing Modes. You can click here and you can pick Draw Inside. But you should not always click here. You can press Shift+D 2 times. You should see this border. After you will see this border, deselect this layer, swatches, let's pick this color, B for brush tool. You can increase or decrease brush size with these buttons on your keyboard and just draw lines like this. If you don't like line that you have drawn, A for direct selection tool, pick line. You can delete unnecessary points and you can easily edit it like this. Now what I want to show you is to exit this mode, you should press Shift+D again. And if you will decide to add more shadows to this object, you will try to pick it with selection tool. You're clicking here and you can't draw inside. But to be able to do this, you should first of all select all these outlines, let's call them so, layers, lock these outlines, A for direct selection tool, with direct selection tool pick this shape, and now you can see that you can use Draw Inside mode. Also, if you can't pick this shape, you will always be able to pick shadow layer. A for direct selection tool, just pick this line for example, and you don't need to search for it in all these layers. All you need to do is to click here on Locate Object, then select this clipping path, and then press Shift+D 2 times. So that's how you can easily find and change anything, add anything with Draw Inside mode. Now B for Brush tool, we don't need to pick this color again, we just need to pick I for eyedropper tool, click on this stroke, B for brush, change size, and draw another shadow, like this for example. So exactly in the same way, let's press Shift+D to exit this Draw Inside mode, we will draw shadows for each one of these objects. Shift+D 2 times, deselect this object, I for eyedropper tool, let's pick color from this brush, B for brush tool, change size, and draw any shadow you want. Ctrl Z if you don't like result. Try another shadow. I will leave this one. Shift+D. Let's select this object. Shift+D 2 times. Deselect this object. I for eyedropper tool. Pick settings from this brush. B for brush. Let's draw a shadow here. And let's draw a shadow here also. Shift+D to exit Draw Inside mode. Let's move on with this one. Let's draw shadow, like this. A for direct selection tool. And change this shadow any way you want. You can fill some objects with this shadow color, like this. You can fill this layer also. I will fill this one. You should just try different combinations. See how it looks better. If something went wrong, duplicate your backup layer and work with it. You should always be sure that you control your artwork. Not your artwork controls you, but you control your artwork. Another shadow. And in the same way, you're drawing shadow for all these objects. You can pick this line and change stroke width, like this. What I also wanted to show you here is that how you can use backup layer to change stroke width for this object. Let's unlock to backup layer, open it, just duplicate this red outline copy to right here. Now all this object is not red outline, this is red base, we can call it so. So let's rename it. Let's rename this one simply to red outline. Select it, properties, and now you can change stroke width, like this. You might want to do this to add more contrast and to make some bold lines. Now, if you will simply select these two layers and group them, they will just appear in one group, and you don't want this. We want to create new layer, rename it to rows, then pick these two layers. Now, as you can see, we have simply rows layer group, we're opening it, and we have two separated layers here. We can work with this one and with this one. This is very handy, so just keep this method in mind. Let's work with this green outline layer. As you can see, after we used Shape Builder, we have all these lines separated. We can apply the same method as with rows. We can expand these lines, create huge rectangle, and then use divide. But we can also simply select all these layers and use Shape Builder tool. For now, I will use Shape Builder tool to cut this line. Now Shift+M and simply click on this object. Now select it, swatches, and apply this base color, like this. Now with this object selected, Shift+D 2 times, deselect this object, select None for fill, select stroke, pick this color, B for brush, and just draw a shadow like this. A for direct selection tool, manipulate it, like so, add more points if you need to. To make sure that you're in Draw Inside mode, zoom out, you should see border around this object. We don't see it. That means that we deselected Draw Inside mode somehow. A for direct selection tool, pick this object, Shift+D 2 times. If you want to make sure that you're able to use Draw Inside mode, just pick object, click here, and if Draw Inside mode is inactive, just follow steps that I showed you before with rows. Within Draw Inside mode, you can draw anything, any shapes. It gives you a lot of combinations. Each shape is easy to edit, so just experiment and gain experience. Let's bring rows layer up. You can change stroke width for this green line, just the same as with rows. Just duplicate this layer from backup layer here, rename it to green outline, this one to green base, select green outline, properties, and I will change stroke to 2 points. Now with this object selected, swatches, select fill color icon, pick this color, select this object, Shift+D 2 times, deselect it, I for eyedropper tool, let's pick these settings, change brush size, let's draw a shadow here, like this. Now let's add highlights here. To add highlights, I will use pen tool. First I will pick this color, let's pick it for stroke, P for pen tool. Just draw a line like this. Properties, let's change stroke width. Also click on stroke, profile, and change profile to width profile 1. This is not all. You can use width tool here. Shift+W for width tool. And now you can play with proportions of this highlight. You can do it even like so. To make it look more interesting. In conclusion, I would say that when you're creating such artwork with hundreds of layers, you should first of all take care to logically separate all objects to layer groups. Then gradually follow steps from this video, experiment, and what's most important, save your artwork often and create backup layers. If you learned something new from this tutorial, drop a comment below, let me know if everything was clear enough for you and what you liked about this video. If you enjoyed this tutorial, support this channel by clicking on subscribe, and what's most important, by clicking on the bell icon to get notifications about newest tutorials from TNT. I would also appreciate if you'll click thumbs up and will share this video. This was TNT Tutorials, see you in next videos!